morning, Mike in Detroit. How are you? Hope everything's going well. Today, let's have a conversation about chords. And I am going to mess up the publishing industry because out there you can find a book. I have a couple on my shelf over there that you open up a book and there's all these chords. So, I am suggesting do not buy one of those books. Don't do it. Just don't do it. And it makes no sense because I did it too because I wanted to learn how to play chords when I started off. But let's say you wanted to learn a language. Right now I'm learning Spanish. It wouldn't make any sense for me to buy a Spanish dictionary and just learn some random word here and a random word there and a random word over here and a random word over there and then expect to be able to speak that language. The same thing is true in music. Now some of these books are better than others. Some of them are organized by key, some of them are organized by type of chords. But I am going to show you a system where you need none of that. Nada. In other words, you can find your own chords. You don't need a chord book. So rather than say that's a C chord or that's a G flat chord or that's a flat 7, I'm going to show you how to figure out how to find it. That way, you don't need a chord book. You find whatever chord, whatever key that you want, and that way you can apply it to any song that you want. I'll even throw in, maybe stay to the end of this video, I'll throw into, once you have these chords, what's the most common ways that they are used so that you can practice them in that way. That puts you way ahead of the game when it comes to play your favorite songs, whether it's a pop song or a jazz song or rock and roll song or gospel song, it doesn't matter. Okay, ready? Buckle up. Now you might want to be at your piano or have a notebook in front of you because I'm going to give you some kind of formulas to go by. When we look at chords, our basic chords are triads. Tricycle. Three notes. These triads have 3 notes in them. I just threw a bass note in for emphasis but that's the chord that we're looking at. So if somebody says, well, play an A flat chord. Well, I don't want to be looking at some chord book. I just want to go here or here. Somebody says, play a G minor chord. I just want to go to it. And so that requires A, knowledge, B, practice to get that kind of fluency with executing chords. Always start with your triads. I don't care how advanced you get. I don't care if you're Oscar Peterson. You are never going to leave triad land. Always start with your triads and really get them down well. Okay, so there are 2 ways to find this triad. 2 ways. Here's my favorite way, so I'll give you that one first. First of all, know your major scale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And know the numbers associated with that major scale. So now we have 2 things to learn. We have C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. But we also have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. If you know that in every key, you could find this triad. D flat, E flat, F, G flat, A flat, B flat, C, D flat. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. But for a raw beginner, that's a tall task. So take it a key or 2 at a time. Maybe take the ones like G or F, or, just build on the flats as But one key is no harder than the other key. It just looks harder on paper, but one key is it should be the same as another key. Okay, so if you know that, now to get this chord, you need 1, 3, and 5. Think of it like ice skating. So that's good ear training, by the way. 1, 3, and 5. What's 1, 3, and 5 here? Right? That's because I know the D flat scale. If I know the D scale, 1, 3, 5. If I know the E flat scale, 1, 3, 5. E scale, 1. Now, here's what, don't do this. Don't look at my screen. I should have taken that virtual keyboard off. Don't copy that because now you're trying to memorize, oh, that's E flat, A flat, B. That's what the chord books will do. No, you need to know that scale. 1, 3. So no cheating, no cheating, no cheating. But you get the idea. So that's one way to do it. Know the scale that you're working with. Off this note, know that scale, major scale, and then 1, 3, 1, 3, and 5. Know this scale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All the way up till you get, all the way up till you get to C again. Okay, so if you saw this and you say, "Oh, I'll write that down," well, now you're in a chord book kind of situation, and you can learn it that way. But that's the hard. You're on the hard bus. So that's the first way to learn it. Second way to learn it is by interval. So you got this 4 interval, 4 steps, 4 half steps, and then 3 half steps. If you want a major chord, you start on whatever note you, in this case C. Don't count that. Now we want to find 4 half steps. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 3 half steps. 1, 2, 3, you're gonna end up 4 half steps, 3 half steps, you're gonna end up in the same place. Let's try it on G. Let's try it on G. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. 4 half steps and 3 half steps. So the first thing to do is to learn all 12 major scales in root position. Down cold. Practice it enough. I have a video on fluency, but practice it enough until you get fluent at it. Now, a couple ways I practice it. You just go chromatically. There's E, F, G flat, G, A flat, A, B flat. And you can come down to so put your metronome on and you're gonna mess up a few, but keep at that until there's your first step of throw your chord book away. You're just gonna figure out how to find these chords. Now after a while, you do this enough, you do this exercise enough, you're going to be able to not have to do this, okay, mental exercise of, if I want to play an A flat chord, okay, A flat scale, 4 steps. No, after a while, you just know where it is. But that comes later too. If you're a beginner, or if you're a music teacher, this is what you teach your students to do when they're trying to find it for the first time. But you play it enough, now you just know where. Now it's like driving your car. You don't have to say, "Ooh, there's the gas pedal, there's the brake pedal." After a while, you just do it. Okay, why did I start with a major triad? Because everything else works off that. Everything builds on that. So my suggestion is learn alto major triads. So one way to do it is chromatically. The other way to do it is the circle of force. So circle of force is a circle. And I think I got a video on that, but let's just review it real quick. C, F, B flat, E flat, A flat, D flat, G flat, B, E, A, D to G to C. I always recommend to memorize the circle of force. Now, if you went on Google, you'll find diagrams and that. A lot of times you'll see the circle of fifths. Same thing, only it just goes in the other direction. I like the circle of force because it goes in clockwise direction. But if you got the circle of fifths and you go counterclockwise, you're going to get the same thing. C, F, D flat, E flat, A flat, D flat, G flat, B, E, to G. Now we're back to where we started from. Now, when you're working on the circle of force, you don't have to start on C. You start on anywhere. It's a continuous circle. Start on F, maybe. Start anywhere you want. Okay. Now we have our triads down. Just a side note. You don't have to do it right now, but just a side note. Triads have inversions. 3 notes, 3 inversions. That's root position. Here's first inversion. I think of it like a horse race going that way. C is in first place, so it's first inversion. Now C is in same notes, different order. Now C is in second place, so it's called second inversion. Now C is in root position. Root position. So that's another thing to get pretty fluent at. Then you can chuck your chord book. Okay, so what kind of chords are we learning anyway? Say you want to play some gospel, you want to play some jazz, you want to play some pop, you want boogie woogie, whatever you want to play, blues, whatever. First, learn your triads. Well, I just can't emphasize that enough. Don't try to jump to advanced chords and you're a little weak on your triads. And by the way, there's nothing wrong with triads. Because later on, I have lots of videos on this. Later on, we're going to maybe play polychords. Let's say we'll hear sounds like that. Well, that's nothing more than 2 triads blended together. How about something like this? Nothing more than 2 triads, so don't poo-poo these triads. How about a sound maybe like this? Wow. If you look at my right hand and my left hand, there's nothing more than 2 triads blended together. But I'm not going to get into all that right now. The point is, don't minimize these triads. You will play them the rest of your life. Or maybe you're playing and maybe on top of that you say, wow, that's nice. Well, I have an F triad, only I have it in 10th position. Okay, I'll explain that real quick because I know you guys are curious. Instead of playing this, that third up an octave, so that gave me this, right? And I put a triad of some kind on top of that. Once I know that, I can do this. All that was inversions of that triad. In other words, you can get some fairly sophisticated sounds if you know your triads. So take the time to really know your triads very, very, very well. All right, I browbeat you enough on that. Let's go back to a C triad. How do I make that minor? Well, I can go through the old count thing. I can go, instead of 4-3, now I got 3-4. But if I know my majors, I can work off that. I'm gonna take this third and go down a half step. So I'm gonna take what I know and build on it. So I know my majors. I know all 12 majors. Any of them I want. I've done my practice. So now I need minor chords. Third of the chord, down a half step. That's it. That's all you need to know. Now that 2 has inversion. That has inversions too. But I'm going to make inversions optional, at least in this lesson. You want to get your root position chords down first. Here's F. Let's do the circle for us, F, to make that minor. You put that middle note down. Here's B flat. Take that middle note. Here's E flat. Middle note. Here's A flat. This is exactly how you want to practice it too. Here's D flat. Middle note down. Here's G flat. Here's B. Middle note down. Here's E. Middle note down. Here's A. Here's D. And here is G. Now we're back to where we started from. Do that enough that if, let's say I wanted now I want a flat minor. I don't know. In other words, I've done it enough that I don't need that crutch of going around circles or going chromatically. In other words, I think of a chord, my hands can execute it. I want a G major chord. I want an F minor chord. I want an E flat minor chord. In other words, now I can say I'm pretty fluent at this. I know it takes a little time, but that beats the heck out of looking at a 600-page chord book. Now you at least, if you can't find it, at least you know the formula for how to find it. Now there's a couple of other triads, but I won't get into them now, like diminished triads or augmented triads. If you know your majors and minors, you're well on your way to play 85% of music. So let's move to 7th chords. So if you know your major, then 7 chords, let's take a major 7. That's a C major 7 chord. Now you notice that's just a C triad that you should already know with an extra note added to it. Well, what is that extra note? It's always, always, always one half step down from this root. Go up here, play your triad, and then 1 half step down from the root is your major 7. By the way, if you're counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, you say, well, hey, 7 is right next door to the next root. Half step down. Triad, half step down from the root. Let's do D flat. Triad, half step down from the root. There's a D. showing you is not only what this chord is, but how to find it. Triad, half step down from the root. Triad, half step down from the root. Now, if you don't know your triads, you're in trouble. So that's why I told you to start there. Now, how do you practice this? Well, you can go circle, you can go chromatically, a lot of ways to practice it. Okay, let's take chromatic. Let's see, right, right. Now, when you get too high, you can just go down. Now work on that until you have mastered all 12 major 7 chords. I'll give you a little bonus here, at least the way I teach. That's root position. Now you know there are 4 inversions here. 1, 2, 3, 4 notes, so there must be 4 inversions. But 2 of them are often used. This one and this one. Root position and second inversion. Now there's 4 of them, but I mean I'll be aware of them, but when you're starting off, here's root position, here's second inversion. But if you're a beginner, don't worry about that. Just get root position. Just get that very, very fluent. Let's do the circle. Let's do F, B flat, E flat. I'm just throwing a few arpeggios in, don't let that fool you. D flat, G flat. You notice the circle sounds good because that's the way music wants to move anyway. Here's a B chord. Here's an E. Here's an A. And here is a D. And a G. And we're back to C again. So we're learning these chords by some way to find them if we don't have a book in front of us. We don't have to say, okay, I need to turn to page 82 and find this chord. So I'm showing you how to find it so that now, once you know it, and I'm also showing you a way to practice it. Okay, minor chord, minor 7 chord is another one that's very common, right? So how do I find that? Well, if I got a major chord, I need 2 notes to go down. This one, the 3rd, and the 7th. They both are going to go down, so this is going to go here. So let me end up with this. Now again, you can find it by the integral method, but if you know this, use that to your advantage. Here's major, here's minor. Let's do F. Here's major, here's minor. Here's B flat, and here's minor. E flat. Here's A flat. You get the idea. Go from major to minor by knowing which notes will move. All of these are in root position. Here's where was I? B? Yep. Alright, now we got this. So you see how this builds on each other. Here's E. Oops, that's not E. Here it is. Now notice, just a quick review. Take this off, I got a triad here. I got a major 7. One step down from the root, right? The 7 and the 3rd are going to move. Everybody else stays the same. Got an E flat minor. Here's an A chord. And then A minor. Here's D. D minor. G. Now we're back to C again. Now once you got that up, I won't do it now, but once you have that down, then do your minors by themselves. Here's a C minor. Here's an F minor. And a B flat minor. Yeah, you get the idea. One more chord, and again, there are lots of different chords, augmented this, off my flat this, flat that. But one more chord for you basic folks. So we had major and minor. Now we need a dominant chord. So let's go back to our triad. And our major chord. How did we form the major chord? We went 1/2 step down from the root. That's an octave higher. If we go 2 steps down from the root, that's an octave higher. We're going to end up with a dominant chord. Right? 1 step down gives us major. 2 steps down gives us a dominant chord. Same thing. We're going to learn that in all 12 keys. So maybe we go here. Here's a D chord. Triad. Where's there's D? 2 steps down. Ooh. 2. There's a root. Here's E flat. Now this is not too musical. This is the way I need to find it. That's what this video is about. I need to find these chords. I don't want to go on my bookshelf. So I know this E flat chord. Here's E flat. 2 steps down. Ah, I have an E flat 7. I know this one. Here's, didn't need the book. Here's an F triad. Fine F. B flat. Let's go down a little bit. Found it. E flat. 2 steps down. Voila, I got it. Don't worry about inversions right now. Find these root position chords. A flat triad. Got it. No book required. D flat, let's see. 2 steps down, got it. G flat. B. Now you won't have to do this forever, but when you're finding it, that's not a bad little exercise. Now, after a while, look at what you got. Got a B7 chord. Now we need E. Find it. I got an E7 chord. A7 chord. We got a D. I thought I did this one right. D. I guess I didn't. Okay. Now we got G. And now we're back to C. So I am showing you how to find these chords if you don't know them already. You don't need to go find a 700-page chord book. Now there are other kinds of chords, um, but if you know major triads, minor triads, major 7, minor 7, and dominant 7, you're 80% home. Learn those first. Don't try to eat the whole elephant. Learn your. Okay, so um, let's do one little chord progression, and then that's enough to chew on for this week. No, that's a lot to chew. So here's a D minor chord. Here's a G7 chord, and here's a C major chord. That's the sound of what we call a 2-5-1. Let's play it again. Every last bit of that is in root position, which is fine for now. So we're going to call that a 2. Why did we say 2? Because in the key of C, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, or 1. D minor, that's a G to a 1 chord. Once you, don't skip ahead, but once you've done your preparatory work, which I've shown you in this video, you should be able to play that 2-5-1 in any key that you want. Let's take D flat. That would be. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 2, 1. Here it is in D. Can't get a better exercise than this, because at least in jazz and a lot of gospel, a lot of pop music, this 2-5-1 takes up 60-70% of songs. You want to do one more? Let's do E flat here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. Where's the 2? It's a minor chord. Where's the 5? To 1 chord. It's almost like you're practicing these triads in the application. Go through all 12 keys with this. Now let's add the 7 chords to this. So go back to the key of C. Now we need, how do we find a minor? 2 steps down from the root. Now we need a 7 chord. 1 step down from the root. Let's play that again. One more time. So this is the payday from this work I'm talking about in this video. Start way back with the triads, really get that really good. Then add your triad inversions, add your 7 chords, and then here is how you know you got it. Let's do one more key. Let's do E flat. So we need an F minor, 7. To a B flat 7. I'm not even going to explain it because I did it already. Now we need a 1 chord. That, my friends, is the process of throwing your chord book back on your shelf and never see it again. Because now you have a process of discovering or finding these chords for yourself. One more little tip is once you find it, let's say I'm playing let's say I'm playing a B flat major chord. You better believe that I'm going to take advantage of the fact that the piano is very visual. It's not like the guitar. I'm going to notice how many black notes and white notes and what those combinations are. On the guitar, everything looks the same, but not the piano. Use that to your advantage. If I'm playing, say, an A minor chord, let's say, I've taken the time to notice, to learn it, but I'm going to kind of file that somewhere. That's a bunch of white notes. As opposed to A flat minor. Here's A flat. I'm going to do that even on my triads. I'm going to notice that that's a bunch of white notes. There's a little valley. That's a black, white, black. That's a white, black, white. I'm going to notice things like that. Helps me get into muscle memory. I'm also going to be using good piano technique. Especially now I'm talking to my beginners now. My beautiful beginners. If you have to rewind this video and notice what fingers I'm using. So in piano, thumb is 1, 2, 3, 4, and pinky is always 5. Almost every root position triad you will ever play. Now let's do it. 1, 3, 5. 1, 3, 5. 1, 3, 5. Son of a gun, same finger. So don't cheat on fingering. 1, 3, 5. 1, 3, 5. 1, 3, 5. All of them are being played with the same fingering. So if you do something like this, right, and the piano doesn't care, but you're not going to get the speed and dexterity that you want. You want to go here. Now, when you get to 7th chords, 1, 2, 3, 5. Let's go here. 1, 2, 3, 5. Let's go here. 1, 2, 3, 5. That's the way to play it. Let's go here. 1, 2, 3, 5. So this 1, 2, 3 works on 7th chords, but not so much on triads. You could do it, I guess. But this is the way you want to finger that. Last thing is enjoy the music. Maybe in diatonic harmony, the 1 chord is always major. I'm going to run through this real fast because I have other videos on this. The 2 chord is minor. The 3 chord is minor. The 4 chord is major. The 5 chord is also major. 6 chord is minor. 7 chord is a diminished chord. Now we have the 1 chord. So we can kind of fool around, improvise a little bit. Let's go from 1. Maybe we'll go to the 4 chord. How about 6? Back to 4. Try the 3. 6. Maybe the 2. I just told you about the 2, 5, 1. Here we go. To the 3. 6. 2. To a 5. Maybe the 1. I hope this was helpful to you. Comment below. and let me know how your practice is going, or if there's anything else you'd like for me to cover for you. Mike in Detroit, have yourself a fantastic day, and we'll talk to you on the next video. Bye bye.